If you're great at what you do, but every month starts from zero, you're not alone. You might not realize it, but if you're still running your video business like a freelancer, that's probably why you're stuck in the feast and famine cycle. And I know that cycle all too well because I lived it for years. There were months where I was slammed with projects, and then there were months where I was staring at a completely empty calendar, wondering what I'd done wrong. It wasn't a lack of skill, it wasn't a lack of effort, it was that I was still thinking like a freelancer and not a business owner. And that's the trap that most video professionals fall into. In this episode, I'm going to share the 5 signs that you might be stuck in the freelancer trap and the shifts that get you out for good. Because this is exactly what I'm documenting through my Agency from Zero project, where I'm building a brand new agency from scratch with no case studies, no portfolio, and no warm leads. And it's to prove what's actually possible when you build with the right foundations. Sign number 1, you start every month at zero. You know that feeling when a new month rolls around and you've got no idea where your next client's coming from? Well, that used to be me every single month. And I'd open my inbox on Monday morning and just sit there refreshing, hoping something would come through. And then when it didn't, I'd panic and start messaging old clients, scrolling through LinkedIn and just trying to drum up work any way that I could. And that's not a business, that's just survival. And the truth is, when you live like that, you start making more short-term decisions. You say yes to projects that you don't really want, and you discount just to get the deal. You're stuck in the loop of busy, broke, and repeat. And the shift for me was realizing that I needed systems, not luck. And the first system that I built was super simple. It was one offer, one outreach process, and one daily rhythm that booked meetings consistently. It wasn't anything flashy, it was just predictable. And that's what I'm doing now with the Agency from Zero project, creating reliable lead flow from scratch, researching my audience, dialing in good messaging, and then building an outreach system that works while I sleep. Because when you have a good pipeline, one that works, that brings in conversations every single week, the anxiety disappears. You stop chasing clients and you start choosing them. Sign number 2 is you charge based on time, not value. When I first started, I charged $500 a day, and I thought that made me look professional. What I didn't realize was I just capped my income, because the better I got, the faster I worked, and then the less I earned. And then one day, I had a meeting that changed everything. A client came to me and they wanted a 5K promo video, but instead of quoting hours or deliverables, I asked a simple question. What's this video worth to you if it actually works? And they said one new client would be worth $50K a year. So I said, well, all right, let's build something that helps you scale to do exactly that. And then this became a 45K project, not 5K. And this was with the same camera, same skill set, but a completely different outcome. And that's the moment that I realized that freelancers sell time while strategists sell results. And that's the core of what I teach now. Because when you start tying your pricing to the value you create and not the time that you spend on stuff, everything changes. Clients stop comparing you to cheaper options and they start seeing you as an investment, not an expense. Now, inside Agency from Zero, that's exactly how I'm winning new deals, by framing every project around the results that they create. And it's how I've helped hundreds of video business owners go from charging a few hundred a day to 20K, 50K, even 100K for strategic engagements. Now, take my student Romain, for example. He was capped out charging 2K per project, and by week 2 of working with us, he'd landed a 10K deal. Then a week later, he landed another 10K deal, all by making the same shifts that we're talking about here. Sign number 3 is that you say yes to everything. If you're saying yes to every job that comes your way, I get it. I used to do the same. And my reel looked like a random playlist of weddings, car commercials, corporate interviews, charity films, music videos, and it made me feel very productive, but it made me look like I stood for nothing. And every random project that I took just pulled me further away from the kind of work that I actually wanted to do. At one point, I was filming a wedding on a Saturday, editing a product video on a Sunday, and then shooting a corporate event on the Monday. And then by Wednesday, I hated all of them. And that was when I realized that every yes to the wrong job is a no to the right one. And the hardest, most profitable lesson I've ever learned was how to say no. No to the one-off brand projects, no to the small one that just doesn't move the needle forward for me. It's about saying no to the stuff that keeps you busy, but not fulfilled. And here's the thing, when you start saying no, spaces open up, spaces for better clients to appear. And you finally start building a body of work that actually shows what you're capable of, because growth doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less, but with the right strategy. Sign number 4 is that your clients tell you what to make. So if you've ever had a client nitpicking your edit, changing the script, or giving endless could you just requests, you know how soul destroying that feels. And I'll be honest, I used to feel the same, and I'd blame the clients, but it wasn't their fault, it was mine. I'd position myself as a vendor instead of a partner. I was selling videos, not outcomes. And I remember one project where the client micromanaged everything. By the end, they'd rewritten the script, they'd swapped the order of things, they'd changed the tone, and after all was said and done, they still weren't happy. And that's when I realized if you let the client control the process, they'll never value your expertise. And the next time, I started the call differently. I didn't ask, what do you want to create? I asked, what are you trying to achieve? And that one question changed everything. Suddenly, they started seeing me as someone who could guide them, not just film for them. And that's when I stepped into being a video strategist, not just a videographer. And that's the role I want more creatives to step into. Because when you lead with strategy, you get trust, you get creative freedom, and ultimately bigger budgets all at the same time. And this is the same approach that I'm using for my agency from Zero project. Every new deal starts with strategy first, diagnosis before prescription. That's how you ultimately separate yourself from every other video person that is hitting up their inbox. Sign number 5, you feel invisible next to cheaper competitors. This one can hit home in a more personal way, because you know your work is better and you've invested years in your craft, you're talented, you're skilled, but clients still pick the cheaper option. And it's super frustrating, but it's not because they're blind, it's because we haven't shown them the difference. And I remember sitting in a boardroom once, pitching a 5K video project. 5 other companies had already pitched before me, and they all showed their reels and they talked about their gear. So instead, I asked one question: what's the biggest challenge that your business is facing right now? Then 45 minutes later, we weren't talking about video anymore. We were talking about their sales funnel, their brand positioning, and the cost of lost opportunities within their business by not having video in place. And then by the end of that meeting, it wasn't a 5K video, it was a 30K strategic video campaign. And that conversation really just changed everything for me. Because the most successful video businesses, they aren't really selling video at all. They're selling outcomes. Cheaper freelancers, they can undercut your day rate, but they can't outthink your strategy. And once you start to lead those conversations, you stop being invisible and you become the safest, most strategic choice in the room. That's how you move from being just another videographer to being a trusted partner that they call first. If you see yourself in any of these 5 signs, it's not because you're not talented, it's because you're selling the wrong thing. You're selling the output instead of the outcome. And the danger of staying in freelancer mode is that your business will always reset to 0. You'll always be one client away from panic. And I know because I've been there. And that's exactly why I started the agency from Zero project, to show that it's possible to build a premium agency from the ground up, even without a single case study or connection, if you focus on strategy, positioning, and systems. And to date, following this process, over the last 3 months, I built a pipeline worth over $126,000, and I've got some more great meetings lined up over the coming days. And what's most rewarding is seeing our students following the same process and closing 10, 20, even 50K deals. One student, for example, Will, he just went from 3 clients on month 1, charging 2K each, to 11 clients and now charges 50K per project just 6 months later. And this is about more than just making a living. It's about building a business that gives you creative freedom and stability. When you finally make that shift, everything changes. This is about building a business where you start choosing your clients, not chasing them. You start leading the conversation instead of following orders. You work on fewer projects, but they're more meaningful and more profitable. And you start every month knowing where your next opportunities are coming from. That's what freedom in this industry actually looks like. That's how important it is to step out of the freelancer trap. So based on my experience, here's where I'd suggest you start to make these shifts. So first and foremost, redefine your identity. Stop saying, I make videos, and start saying, I help niche solve business problem through video. Number 2, ask better questions. On your next call, ask, what would success look like 6 months from now? And then really listen. Number 3 is stop using day rates and start focusing on the value of the outcome. Number 4, Put your time and energy into building a consistent pipeline. Even just 1 hour a day of real personalized outreach can make a difference. Number 5, protect your time. If it's a project that doesn't move you closer to the kind of work you want to be known for, then say no. And these 5 habits, if done consistently, will pay dividends and change your business faster than any new camera or lens could. So to recap, if you start every month at 0, then focus on building systems in your business. If you charge for time, switch to value. If you say yes to everything currently, then think about the opportunity cost and get clear on what you need to start saying no to. If clients are the ones telling you what to make, it's a sign that they don't value your expertise. So start taking control of the dynamic by asking better questions. And if you feel invisible, stop competing on quality and instead become the strategic choice. That's how you escape the freelancer trap. I hope you found this video useful, and if you'd like my direct support working with me one-on-one to transition from freelancer to video agency owner, where you're working on your business, not just in it, then I'll leave a link below this video. No one should have to stay stuck doing work that they love for less than what they're worth.